Good morning, Jack, Heath, J Dog on the board. And I guess we have to start with some very true basics, J Dog. Welcome to December. We have snow on the way tomorrow. It's Cyber Monday. And tomorrow, what, J Dog? Giving Tuesday? Is that right? You reminded me of that this morning. That's your nature. I love it. And our poll question up on X to get going at the pulse of an H. Everything's at the pulse of an H. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google worldwide, play the pulse of an H. Thank you for joining us 9 to noon right here. Do you intend to, I guess, participate in Cyber Monday and tomorrow? I know it's a lot on the credit cards, Giving Tuesday, yes or no? Oh, we're just doing Cyber Monday? Okay. And I don't know if we have results from Friday. We'll come back to those because Wednesday we were off. But I want to say I really do hope you had a nice Thanksgiving break. You got out with the family, J Dog, whatever people were doing. I hope you had a good one. Travel ended up being big travel in the air and on the roads. Weather was nice, cooperative. We'll come back to tomorrow in a moment. And of course, a lot of people, you just heard in our Fox News, how many people are going to, I guess, support Cyber Monday. Unbelievable numbers. I do want to mention that one of our great contributors reminded me with artificial intelligence now, what it is, even if it's a retailer or Amazon and you're a regular shopper online, today was Cyber Monday. You got to remember, if you get some of these emails that look very legit for an incredible offer, like 45% off, 50, 60% off on a certain like handbag or a coat that you may want, or shoes, boots, you name it, and it looks really legit, make sure it's not a scam and make sure it goes to that retailer or the outlet that you intend to do business with. Sometimes the best way to find out, because these pushes to you look very real, very real, is to go. I'm just gonna throw this out, J Doc, because I'm a New Englander. Let's just say it's an LL Bean promotion, or no, better yet, because we do business with. I'm sorry, I apologize. Kittery Trading Pro. Say you get a something from Kittery Trading Post. Who doesn't love them? And it looks legit, and you want to get a new ski parker or whatever they're selling, just go to the Kittery Trading Post website yourself. And if it's a legit Cyber Monday deal, because you're going to order online, they're going to have the same deal. So make sure you're pushing it versus responding to something that looks real, but it may not. All right, J Dog, I guess we have to talk a little on Mother Nature. So let's get to the basics. We're looking tomorrow. It's going to start, depending on where you are, southwestern part of the state, over towards that, I call it the Marlow Keene snow belt, coming across the central areas, right across. I think it's going to be a morning, but as the day gets going, I think we're going to hear tomorrow morning from our friends of the New Hampshire State Police, Public Safety, Utilities. We're not going to overdo it, but we don't want to underdo it. It's the first real plowable, you know, system of the year. Could be 5 inches, could be 5 to 8, could be upwards of 5 to 10 in pockets, but not a hugie, but not enough to be real. And we're basically, tomorrow afternoon into the afternoon evening commute, I think will be the messiest. And this is a fast moving storm. I think it's pretty much blows out or is done by midnight. So Wednesday's good. And today, for your first day of December, and by the way, it is December. It is December. And it does snow in New England, in New Hampshire and Maine and so forth. But we're looking at a nice looking Monday, clear, some sunshine out there, some blue skies. So today is cleared. Today's no issue. Tomorrow, late morning, right through the day. I think the afternoon, kind of that 2:30, 3 o'clock, right through 10 or 11 tomorrow night, probably be the messiest, but we'll have much more on that as we get going. And again, it really depends on the area. Probably 5 to 8 inches is a good estimate as we get going, and it will be fast or faster. For example, in the capital region, J Dog, pretty much they're calling for 100% chance of snow, 5 to 8 inches. Seacoast, probably about the same. Up north, when I say up north, I mean kind of maybe even north of Conway, probably a little less, if you get up north. Hey, speaking of Conway, how about North Conway? I don't know if you caught this one, J Dog. I'm not sure if you did, but North Conway, not Vale, not Jackson Hole, North Conway, New Hampshire, was rated or voted by, and I'll tell you in a moment, the best ski town in the country. North Conway, New Hampshire, has been voted the best ski town in America, according to USA Today readers. North Conway, New Hampshire, number one. How about that? A couple other stories that we are tracking this morning. We're going to hear from our own White House correspondent, John Decker. Secretary of State Marco Rubio working hard on trying to get a sustaining deal cut or a deal agreed to between Ukraine and Russia. Steve Witkoff going over to meet with the Russian leaders. This thing is heating up. Also, keep an eye on Venezuela. We have a strong force there in terms of the carrier force. I'm sure we have the good guys on the ground, if you know what I mean. I don't know what it's going to mean with Maduro and Venezuela, but that is a very tenuous, fluid situation, to say the very least. All right, coming up, we're going to hear from Brad Card, one of our regular contributors. We'll hear from John Decker on some of the foreign policy efforts, both trying to get a deal between Russia and Ukraine that the U.S. is largely brokering, which is amazing after what happened in Gaza. If you look at the release of the Israeli hostages, it's the same team basically doing this. And keep an eye on Venezuela. But as far as domestic stuff, I'm going to have some commentary today. I was researching online. I was just looking up some stuff. You know, there was a Gallup poll this fall. I think it was September. And I will look it up so that in the upcoming segment with one of our contributors, I'll get into this. And the poll basically showed that of Democrat voters, especially under, I believe, 40 years old, more than 70, I think it was 76, but I'm going to err on the side of being conservative. Let's just say more than 70% of those polled had a more favorable view of socialism than capitalism. And there's a lot of reasons, I think, for this misguided feeling that socialism is a good system. But I get it to a point, but I don't. But I do understand misinformation largely through our universities with very liberal professors who don't like anything really about this country known as the United States of America. But I was looking up the stats, even in New Hampshire, Maine, the United States, the number of people who are on some degree of public assistance. Now, it could be SNAP or food benefits, could be Medicaid. There are some other programs. Obviously, there's this time of year home heating assistance, but I'm not knocking and I'm not getting into the merits of each program. But the number of people in America on some degree, including the so-called Affordable Care Act with the subsidies that will probably be renewed despite our $38 trillion debt. But the number of people in this country on some degree of public assistance is growing and growing and growing. And believe it or not, it's actually hard to get a handle on whether it's more than a third. Is it getting up near 40%? But the number of people could be food benefits, could be Medicaid, some degree of public assistance is growing and growing and growing. It's not declining. It's becoming a permanent reality in more people's lives, some degree of public assistance. And then the irony is, if you wonder if socialism is already here, which sometimes I do in commentary, the number of people that pay federal income tax, some degree of federal income tax in America, the number of people who pay no tax is increasing. And the number of people who pay the taxes in America is decreasing. So the number of people that pay no federal income tax is getting up near 40% of tax return adults. Unbelievable. That means, I think the number is more than 40. That means 50-something% of Americans are paying all the taxes. So when Democrats and some politicians say, oh, the wealthy are not paying their fair share, you could remind them, do you know how many people pay no federal income tax in this country? Because their income levels, I'm just pointing out the reality of some of the numbers. Look at the numbers. Eye-opening. Hey, Alexa, hey, Google, play the pulse of NH. Coming up, Brad Carr, John Decker, our own White House correspondent. On the eve of some snow, welcome to December. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Back in a moment. You know, I had to comment on one of the stories as we're bringing Brad Card, one of our political analysts and All Stars co host of Contact Politics. Brad, I hope you had a good Thanksgiving, by the way, with the family. All right. Were you in warmer or cooler temperatures? And knowing you, a golf club was involved? You think that's what the priority is on Thanksgiving Day? Hey, I just want to mention this is fun, so I'm going to let you run with. There's a couple of interesting stories, including what we know now about the National Guard suspect. There's a couple of other interesting foreign policy situations with Ukraine, Russia, as well as Venezuela. But I noticed, Brad, you probably didn't catch it. Going into Thanksgiving, WMUR did an interesting feature on the recently reelected Portsmouth mayor, Degwin McEachern, who I know, and very, very, nice younger leader over on the seacoast. And the way they do it in mayor races in Portsmouth, it's the top vote getter who becomes the mayor. And you might know that. But it's interesting. It was a big feature on him and how he may want to run for governor of New Hampshire someday, which doesn't surprise me. But I don't think he's talking about running now to take on Kelly Ayotte, the Republican. But I was wondering if WMUR, they said he came over and sat down. They did a nice, what you'd call in the media business, puff piece on the Portsmouth mayor and his political future, his bright political future. I'm wondering if they're going to do the same sit down with Manchester Mayor Jay Rouet, who was just reelected, really reelected outright over a Democrat opponent as a Republican mayor of the state's largest city, who has driven veteran homelessness to near zero, cleaned up the city, who may also want to run for governor down the road after Kelly Ayotte. I wonder if they're going to do a feature on him. Just curious. But anyway, Brad, good morning. Right. All right, what's catching your eye nationally? What are we missing down in DC? There's a lot going on coming out of the Thanksgiving break. Yeah, what do you how does that? I don't know much about that. Tell us about that. Yeah. Do you what one of the do you think there'll be some agreement and some support from the White House or not on something to do with subsidies for the Affordable or Unaffordable Care Act? By the way, subsidies that were put in place, not intended to stay in place and sunset. But do you think there'll be some degree, given the Democrats' fever over that issue with the government shutdown? Do you think there'll be some continuation of the Affordable Care Act subsidies by the end of the year? Yes or no? Yeah. Well, you you know what I've noticed? Anything that is put on the books in the form of public support or assistance, public assistance, because I was looking up the numbers over the weekend, never seems to go away. It never se it never seems to go away. I was looking up, and I'm not I'm not playing economic judge or jury here at all, but I was looking up this morning early. I got up early, and I was looking up the number of people just for the heck of it in New Hampshire and Maine, just to compare the 2 states because you can population-wise, that are on some degree of public support. And that could be federal, SNAP or food, EBT, it could be Medicaid, and it could be home heating. But you look at the number of people, in New Hampshire and Maine, and nationally, look at the number of people that are on some degree of public assistance. And then you look at the number of people who pay no federal income tax at all each year. And you debate socialism versus capitalism. Some would even question if we're not already there a little bit. I mean, you look at the number of American. Go ahead. Right. Did, we, one one of our guests in Contact Politics, former Governor Craig Benson, surprised you and me the other day with Mike Murphy talking about the national debt at 38 what point 2 trillion, $300,000 almost per household now. Social Security, which is not public assistance, we pay into it, may not be 100% solvent in 5 years. But he had the number, Brad, of young, just I'm going to throw this out there. I hope it doesn't offend anyone. Young males, young men, and I would put that 25 to 45 years old, who are on Medicaid. And what did he say? It was like over 7 million younger Americans who probably could be working and making more money or getting a second job. And then you look at the $1 million shortfall of jobs in the trades, including the CEO of Ford Motor Company trying to hire modern day mechanics at 120,000 a year, and young workers don't have the skill set. You look at these numbers, and these should be somewhat of a warning sign here. Yep. Well, that right. And you'll never be you'll never be out of work. You'll never get a pink slip if you go into the trades and you're willing to work. The demand is outrageous for anything from electrical. Yep. 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 That no one. Right. Yep. Yep. I think that's another issue, but of course, if you say that too loudly, you're gonna offend someone's feelings. All right, Brad, for welcome to December. You're missing some snow here tomorrow. Thank you. All right. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google, play the pulse of nature. We'll come back and talk about who's working in America in a moment. How many Americans pay zero federal income tax? I was saying talking about numbers of people who don't pay any federal income tax. And there are some reports that the number now is over 45% of Americans, adults, pay no federal income tax because of income levels. That's interesting. We'll come back to that. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, joining us live on this first day of December. John, I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving break to a point. Yeah. And the president did make a comment, John Decker, that the Afghan individual national originally, despite past involvement, was radicalized here in America. That's something the president was adamant about. Is that accurate from what the president said? And John, I know that's your focus this morning, but a lot of big foreign policy stuff going on behind the scenes. Secretary of State Rubio working, I think, out of Florida. Witkoff going back to Russia, trying to get something brokered between UK and Russia, Ukraine and Russia. And I'm also paying very close attention to some of the optics in and around Venezuela. All right, John Decker, our own White House correspondent. Thank you, John. All right, tomorrow morning on Good Morning New Hampshire, the Pulse of an Age coming out of the Morning Information Center with the great Mike Pomp, 5:30 to 9 to noon. Good Morning New Hampshire. We'll hear from the New Hampshire State Police on the roadways because we should take a moment. Now, we have advanced forecasting right now. We know tomorrow there's going to be several inches of snow falling on much of our listening area and region. We know it's going to start, I think, more late morning, but some parts of the state may see some of the early flurry stuff early morning. But I think as the day goes on, midday, afternoon, early evening, this is a fast moving system, probably done by tomorrow night at midnight. Most of the snow, I think it's going to be an afternoon, messier situation, early evening where the stuff is piling up probably a little more than they can keep up with. We have great DOT folks out there, I think, in terms of the roadways. I really do. I think New Hampshire has a great crew. We'll hear from the state police tomorrow morning out of the gate at 9:08, 9:10, because we all need to be reminded, it seems. I don't know why. It's December. It's New Hampshire. It's Maine. It's New England. It's December. It's going to snow. And this is not a huge storm. And it's not like a big nor'easter that's socking in for a couple of days. This is probably a half a foot, guessing kind of that 6 to 8, 5 to 8, maybe some parts in and around Conway, maybe closer to 10, but 5 to 6, 7 or 8 inches. Not a huge storm, but sad to say, too many people forget how to drive when the roads get slippery. And I just have to tell you, I think most people out there, most people, meaning out of 10 drivers, I would say 6 to 8 are probably pretty responsible, safer drivers. But there's a few. I got to tell you, I see it when the roads are dry. I saw it coming out of the Thanksgiving, in and out of Thanksgiving with the heavy traffic. There are people that just in and out of traffic on a two-lane highway or road, speeding in and out, not stopping early enough when the break, not moving over when there's a breakdown or emergency lights, waiting to the last minute, driving far too fast when the roads are dry, aggressive, stupid, distracted driving. Sorry, I just got to tell you what it is because it can take a life or lives. It's such a waste of potential life to drive so stupidly. And people do. And it only takes one or two to screw up a good day or afternoon or evening driving. It's hard to go. I'm just going to point out because I did for years in the show. I kept talking about the accident in Greenland off 95 near Portsmouth. The number of accidents, bad ones, fatals. In fact, one took the life of a New Hampshire wonderful staff sergeant trooper who was doing a construction detail and a truck plowed right in the back of him, not paying attention again, probably. I don't know. I'm not the judge or jury, but I talked about 95 in Greenland being such a scary, bad area that they had to do something more to get people to pay more attention coming in there. Another one I'm going to tell you right now, you heard it here, is the Portsmouth Traffic Circle. The famous Portsmouth Traffic Circle, where people will meet over there, people know about it, and people come into that circle coming south off of 16, coming off of 95, coming off of, in Portsmouth and around the seacoast, the Portsmouth Traffic Circle, Route 1, and it's crazy. And I'm talking 1 or 2 in the afternoon, not on a snow day. I'm talking a regular day. It's hard to go through there now without seeing blue lights and a state trooper or local officer and crew because there's a 2 or 3 car accident because someone forgot how to yield. Someone forgot how to yield. Or someone stupidly drove into a traffic circle going 80 miles per hour. I see it and I'm like, oh my goodness. On the one hand, I'm not shocked or surprised because it's scary the number of people who drive. I'm just telling you, who probably have a hard time in some cases navigating common sense. I'm just going to tell you the way it is. And if a trooper or a local officer could tell you the truth of what they see, or better yet, a tractor trailer operator, professional driver of a big rig up high, some of the stuff they must see could be the stuff of a short digital or audio book or a series or a Netflix series of stuff they'd see. I've talked to troopers and officers who will say sometimes they've stopped someone who is swerving all around the road in the middle of the day, and they're trying to eat a piping hot pepperoni pizza right across the column of the steering wheel while they're driving, instead of pulling off and safely having a slice of pizza. I've talked to officers who say they've stopped someone who is trying to change their clothing, change their outfit, or apply makeup, staring into the mirror, not looking ahead at the red lights stopped up ahead. And then, of course, there's the distracted driving with this stupid smartphone, this wicked smart thing we have in our hand that everyone's addicted to. I'm just trying to wake people up and say, I don't know what's going on, but every time I have the state police on our regular segment brought to you by AutoFair, both interested in safer roads, safer vehicles, safer New Hampshire, Jason LaCroix and the team at AutoFair, our state police segment. Every time I have like a Lieutenant Storm on or one of the troopers, I'll say, is it just me or is it getting worse? And they say, Jack, it's getting worse. People are driving way too fast, way too fast. And again, it's a total cluelessness for life because, when you get caught up in your own life and you're driving alone, and I got to tell you, some of the worst drivers I see in the road are driving alone. They're not driving with someone in the car who might say, hey, moron, slow down. You look at these people and you're like, and a lot of them, I'm just going to tell you, they may be under 40 or 50 years old. They may have the balance of their life to live, and they're driving like they could care less about their own life. Or worse yet, do what you want to yourself. But what about the family? What about the young college kid or the family that's ahead of you that's driving with a baby in a car seat, and you're driving like an absolute moron, speeding into a traffic circle going 75 miles per hour when you should be going 35 and yielding? What the hell? Obviously, you're not thinking. Obviously, you're acting like a moron. I'm sorry. I'm just tired of seeing it. And what are you saving at the end of the day? 1 second for what? You're probably not even working. You're probably just out there driving because you're so stressed out that someone's supposed to text you to meet you to go shopping, and you're like driving like a moron, risking the lives of innocent people, ruining your life forever. So I give this extra commentary because I don't always give it with the state police out of respect, but they say, Jack, we're seeing people driving well over 100 miles per hour in a posted 65 mph zone. And I always say, what do they say when you stop them? Let's just presume you can stop them. What do they say to you? Do they say anything? Do they act like, "Oh, officer, I didn't know I was driving 120 miles per hour." Of course they did. You can't drive over 80 miles per hour and not be aware of it. I've been driving my whole adult life. You get up to 80 or 90, you know it. Um, and I'm like, what do they say? And one of the troopers said one time he stopped a young driver. They cited the person and they caught him again within 10 minutes going just as fast. It's like, I mean, I don't know what you do to make people have a clue, but tomorrow it's going to snow. It's going to snow. It's going to snow probably a half a foot, and it's probably going to be in the afternoon. So don't drive, 20 miles per hour over the speed limit, expect that you're going to stop on a dime, and learn how to yield or be respectful. Some commentary. Someone's got to do it. 603 228 2008. So we come back. Doug Tengden, World Market Advisors. Could there be a new Fed chair chief named soon? Back in a moment. All right, we are back. Delighted to bring in Doug Tengden, worldmarketadvisors.com. Doug, I hope you had a very, very nice Thanksgiving Day break with your family. Meaning not much fun. I hear you. How's the shoulder? All right, Doug, maybe a new Fed chair, but that's not going to matter right away in the short run. Are we going to see a rate cut between now and New Year's? All right, what else is catching your eye on this first day of December, Cyber Monday? Amazing how much people spend on this stuff. Yep. All right, good stuff. Good stuff. What else is I'm you know, I think it's interesting. We have time or a moment. We had one of our regular partners and sponsors with Lavallee Middleton Building Supply, Bob Jackman, and you hear a lot. And I know because it's a big problem. Lack of affordable housing in our area is really number one problem. Um, but it's interesting. I'm wondering if part of that is I don't get me. People are going to get mad at me. Is this society today? More the instant gratification because if you do look at Realtor and Zillow, there's like 3,800 homes in New Hampshire under 450,000 available. Now you may not want to live in 80% of them where they may need $200,000 in work, but you got to start somewhere. It's interesting, because yes, the median home prices are getting up near mid 500s. Seacoast, I would tell you it's more than 800. It's probably $1 million in Portsmouth or Rye. Lakes region. I looked up Meredith in October. The average median home sale was $1 million or more. I get it, but what's your take on affordability and the cost of living? Are we going to see any break in the action soon, or are we just going to be for the next several years living in one of the more affordable parts of the country? I mean, unaffordable. 3 acres. No, but I'm saying you could do a half acre minimum, and more people are going to sneak, put a house in. Well, you know why? They don't want, no offense to Hanover, they don't want affordable housing in Hanover. Yeah, I got one for you. Everyone makes a big deal of Dartmouth Hitchcock, one of the biggest employers in the Upper Valley, correct? What what percentage, not of the surgeons doing heart surgery or doctors, but what percentage of the hospital workers at Dartmouth do you think live within 5 to 10 minutes of the hospital? I bet you more than 50 are like 15 to 20-minute drive outside of that area to be able to afford a home. I know. If you can explain to me the rationale of Vermont's taxation, I would be a big fan because I got to tell you, it's crazy. Thank you, Doug. All right, worldmarketadvisors.com. One of the posts I did the other day or last week or so on just how New England, the states around us like Vermont, Maine, Mass, compared to New Hampshire. New Hampshire, no income, no sales tax. Modern day political miracle that we're able to survive. By the way, YouTube, the first hour, our YouTube channel at the Pulse of an H. Watch it. But the video I did from the show has gotten like 4,000 views in the last 4 or 5 days because I made the case of all the new taxes in Maine on legal cannabis, pension funds, hunting and fishing licenses, four wheelers, cigarettes, everything they could tax, plus the income and sales tax in Maine. And the city and town managers are saying, "Where's all the money? We don't have enough money to run our public safety services. Where's the money? You raised all these taxes. We got all these taxes in Maine. Where's the money?" I kept saying in New Hampshire, it's amazing. We're able to run the state. There's always a need for more money. The roads, the potholes, the school. You're always going to hear that. But we do it without an income or sales tax. In Maine, Vermont, look at all these taxes. Look at all the taxes they have, and they still whine and complain about not having enough locally. Look at all. What more could they possibly tax in the state of Maine? Maple syrup, leaves after the trees shed the leaves. I mean, what could they possibly tax in the state of Maine that they aren't taxing? Ice, snow, leaves. I'm serious. And where's all the money? Where is all the money? It's in Augusta, folks. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J Dog on the boards, Anna Brown on deck, and a whole lot more when we come back. Neil Levesque as well.